this is just a quick video. I was going to do another video, which I might do after this one, depending how I feel, because I still feel like I've got the man flu, plague, or whatever. It's the cold that won't quit. But while I was preparing to do this other video, I caught a news story today, which really shocked me, dismayed me. I can't believe that it actually happened, really. And this is revolving around the incident in L'Aquila in Italy, where a number of scientists and a government official have actually been sent to jail. Now, I've been found guilty of manslaughter because they didn't predict an earthquake. Yes, I'm being serious. That's what's actually happened today. Now, if you want the background to this, I'll leave some links down below to some news stories about it. But the gist of it is that in L'Aquila in Italy in 2009, there was a terrible earthquake. Hundreds of people died, and it was a tragic event. But the local government officials had called in experts, scientific experts, to evaluate whether an earthquake was going to happen before that, because there had been a number of tremors. And the scientists looked at the data and said, well, look, you live in a hotspot of seismic activity. There's always a risk that earthquake's going to happen here. That's what happens in this region. If you're asking us, is there a greater probability right now than normally? We can't answer that. We don't have the data. So really, we would just be saying that things are, it's business as usual, basically. And the government official then came out and gave a reassuring statement. Maybe it was too reassuring, I don't know, but a reassuring statement saying, look, I've spoken to the experts. Doesn't, I think the exact words were, he said something like they were favourable, which I don't know, that was the subtitles that I saw for it, so I don't know if that's a mistranslation. To me, that does seem a little bit excessive. That's different from saying we don't know if there's going to be an earthquake or not. But that being said, part of government, especially local government, is to set people's minds at ease, and occasionally, sometimes, you do lay the language on, the comforting language on a little bit thick. That's just the way things are. And people didn't think there was going to be an earthquake, and then there was. Killed loads of people. Terrible, terrible thing. But then these scientists and the government official that read the statement have been tried for manslaughter in the place where it happened. So first of all, I think the court is compromised because there's so much built up tension and of grief and loss and pain, which I'm sure must affect the proceedings. They should have had the court case somewhere else, for starters. But in fact, no, forget that. Forget I said that. There shouldn't be a court case in the first place. Science doesn't work like this. The idea that because scientists said we can't predict this, it's like a doctor who says to somebody, well, everything just seems to be going the way things normally are, so, if the person says, am I going to die in the next 2 months? And the doctor says, well, you could, but I don't really see any greater likelihood of it happening in the next 2 months, so just go leading your life. And then that person dies 2 weeks later, and the family then take the doctor to court for manslaughter. That's what we're talking about here. It's like holding off on a decision, saying, well, look, we don't have the information. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. And in many ways, it's as if science has been put on trial here, because, look, yeah, science is such a wonderful, wonderful tool for knowledge, and sometimes we can go, yes, if event A takes place, then B will follow. But there are some events, and seismology is one of them, or seismic activity is one of them rather, where there are so many causal factors, so many causal threads which need to be tugged at, need to be looked at and understood for you to actually be able to predict when an earthquake will be. And the fact is that it's such a complicated event that the scientific community has not figured out yet how to accurately predict earthquakes. They can look at things and they can say, well, because we understand how earthquakes happen, we can say that there are regions where earthquakes are more likely. But that's really about it, and that's why these people are studying seismic activity, so that one day they will have a predictive theory where they can say, okay, Tuesday 9 o'clock there's going to be an earthquake, so everybody evacuate before then. But we're not there yet with it. Hopefully one day, but right now we're not. And these scientists, 6 years they've been sentenced to. 6 years for manslaughter, and the government official as well. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you're a scientist, are you going to want to be involved in anything like that again? If you're a seismologist, if you're someone who's an expert in earthquakes and studying these things, are you going to want to be involved with local government agencies when they ask you your opinion, or they ask to form a panel of experts to see if there's going to be an earthquake? Do you want to give your opinion on this? Because what if you get it wrong? You get it wrong, and then all of a sudden you're in court. Scientists can only give the evidence that there is at the time and can interpret it, and sometimes there'll be mistakes because it's human beings that are interpreting what's going on. Over time, what happens is that we're able to set up experiments, we're able to gather so much data that we can say chances are this is what's going to happen. But it's not, I nearly said science is not a precise science. Science normally is a precise science, but finding the causal, the predictive nature of a certain event can be extremely complicated. And that's why science is amazing, because it's constantly readapting and reevaluating and trying to understand better so that it can predict better. We're just not there with things like earthquakes yet. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And there is another question here as well, which is it the scientist's fault that previous scientists said, look, this is an earthquake hotspot, so you need to reinforce your buildings, you need to make sure the buildings are earthquake proof. You can't completely proof a building for it, but you can go around reinforcing buildings to try and make sure that if there is an earthquake, that perhaps they won't collapse. And that didn't take place, so loads of buildings did collapse. Now that might be someone else's fault, but the idea of having scientists in the dock for this, it's unreal. And in many ways it does feel, you see, to me there are a lot of people who don't understand what science is, and this is the sort of thing which throws fuel on the fire, where people can look at events like this and say, well, you scientists don't know everything. Yeah, we don't, scientists don't know everything, but that doesn't mean that the method of science is not just as valid and just as important. It's a constant evolving process of understanding the world around us. And is that somebody honking the horn outside, or is it a car alarm? Nearly said, is that an earthquake? That would have been bad taste. Anyway, so what do you think about this? Do you think that sorry, that's put me off. Do you think that these scientists should be in the dock because they weren't they didn't give sort of a warning at all? They sort of said, look, just there's no higher probability of an earthquake at the moment. Or do you think, like myself, that this is absolutely ridiculous? And I really hope that this is appealed and that these people are released, because it's unreal, absolutely unreal. Anyway, hope you're all doing well. As always, Facebook, Tumblr down below. I'm going to go and get some coffee sweets. Bye for now.